Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. I love you. If you are new here, hello, my name's Adele. I make 3 videos a week. Today, we're having lunch together. I've got my leftover stir fry from last night, which is chef's kiss if I can say so myself. I'm really hungry. I have been working from home. I also had a therapy appointment at lunch, and so I had an idea today to film a video about therapy because I've wanted to do this for a really long time, and I was going to put a vote up. I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do this one because I want to do it anyway. So it makes sense for me to do it today, and I'm in a pretty good headspace, and I feel like I can do a chat about therapy because it can be heavy, and I guess for me, I just have to take into account like what content I'm putting out on the podcast, what other content I'm putting out, and how I'm feeling and what's going on in my life. And so this week's podcast episode is a good one. It is not too heavy at all, and I thought, perfect, I can go a bit heavier with the YouTube video in between. And I'm also wanting to bring you this earlier because the weekly vlog is going to be delayed. So instead of Sunday 5 p.m, it will go up on Monday 5 p.m. I just want to give you the heads up. I am traveling this week, Saturday, Sunday, which is when I do a lot of my editing for the weekly vlog, and I just won't have time to do that while I'm traveling. And so I thought I better tell you guys and better come to you with a better video in between. But today we're talking about therapy, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. Also, how good does this look? These noodles are so good. They're the Hokkien noodles just from Coles, and they're so thick, but I love them. Look at me twirling it like it's pasta. Anyway, before we get started, what I want to say to you, if you are struggling with your mental health, please check out the mental health link that I'm going to put in the notes. There's some hotlines in there, the number for lifelines in there. And I just needed to preface the conversation with that because we're going to be talking about mental health and therapy, and I think it's just important that I mention that. I'll also say content warning, we may talk about some heavy things in regards to mental health, so keep that in mind. If you are feeling not in the mood for that, that's okay, don't watch this video. All right. And the other thing I want to say to you is to please listen to episode 10 of Your Safe Space. That's my podcast, because I did actually do a whole episode on mental health. And I talk about my story with mental illness. I talk about stigma and the stigma that surrounds it, and why people don't get help, and why it's important that we do get help. I also talk about what the signs are that you might need help, how to ask for help, how to find the right help, and my tips for looking after your mental health. So if I said anything in that resonates with you, please go and listen to that episode. You might also be able to watch it on my YouTube, because I'm pretty sure there's a vodcast that I did. So if you want to watch the video, you can do that as well. I don't have a napkin in here. Oh my god, this is so yum. Okay, so today I'm going to be more about therapy specifically. Some of the questions are a little bit broader, but let's start going through them. So, tips for the first time. How does the chat start? Is it awkward to talk to them at first? I'm going to say, if you have never been to therapy in your life, of course it's awkward. You're going into a room with a complete stranger talking about heavy shit. That alone can put people off going to therapy because it's so overwhelming and so scary. But I will say, once you pass that first appointment, and once you make it through that first appointment, even going to your GP, because I usually say, if you're struggling, always go to your GP first. But even in that conversation, you have to tell your GP that you're struggling and not coping. And if there's any like judgment towards yourself there, like it'll come up then. But just feeling overwhelmed in that first therapy session is so normal, so common, so valid. My first time, I was really scared. My first time, because I was struggling quite a bit when I went into therapy, I was in what you would call crisis. So I was not in a good state. And I guess I had no other option. For me, it was like go to therapy or no other option. And so for me, I didn't even have the time to worry about it being awkward. And I'm going to say the start of therapy versus now. So the first few sessions for me anyway, were very much like sharing of information. She would ask me questions, or he would ask me questions, because I had a few therapists before I found the right one. And I'll talk about that in a second. But it was a lot of information exchange, which they had to know what was going on in order to be able to help me, which is like fair enough, right? And so I just felt like I was talking nonstop. Knowing what I know now and having been in therapy for over 2 years, I will say that it is definitely different once that information is shared. So once you go to therapy for whatever reason, maybe there isn't even a reason, maybe you just want to go, maybe you feel like you need it, there might not be something specific, right? But maybe there's something specific, maybe there isn't. But once you get through that information overload, they learn about you, they learn about your childhood, they learn about your past relationships, they learn about your current relationship or your friendship or whoever's in your life. They are then able to identify what you need and work with you. So I'm going to say my therapy experience has been quite practical. Practical in the sense that like my therapist will get me to journal on things. She'll give me printouts to take home. She will give me activities to do, almost like homework. It's never too much. It's never overwhelming. It has definitely been more hands-on. And I will say, if I'm in crisis, so if something's gone wrong and I'm either in like a depressive episode or I'm having like, you know, an anxious episode, the session looks different to if I'm like just vibing. Like today's appointment wasn't a heavy one. It was just more like a check-in. I haven't had a therapy appointment since September. So it's been a little while since I've seen her. Or maybe it was start of September. And I don't think I needed the appointment today, but I know future me will need it, if that makes sense. Because I truly think that what you do for your mental health when you're not struggling is what helps you struggle less, if that makes sense. But yeah, my tips for the first time are to just go. Firstly, if you're worried, if you are having judgment to yourself, don't have that. Go and get the help. My only regret is not going sooner. So think about that, right? And then I'm going to say, have an open mind and just let the therapist guide you, because a good therapist will guide you through that first few sessions. You don't have to be overwhelmed about what to say. They will ask the right questions to get what they need out of you. And I will also say it does take time to build trust. So if you don't vibe and you know straight away, obviously don't go back. But if you kind of vibe and you're kind of feeling it, give it some time, because that might be the right therapist for you. It just takes time to build the trust. I'm going to go into the next question though. I feel like my psych is judging me. Should I see a different one? Yes. Yes, 100% yes. Because, sorry, but therapy is the least judgmental place in my life, and it should be the least judgmental place in your life. Your therapist should not be judging you. I've told my therapist the most fucked up shit, the most fucked up thoughts that I've ever had, and she has looked me dead in the eye, not batted an eyelid, and not judged me once. Which, I was waiting for it. I was definitely waiting for it, but she never did. And I will also say, I've had other therapists that did judge me, and then I never went back, because she is the third therapist I tried. I think I tried 2 before her. So yeah, no judging. I feel like that's really bad. Someone says, how do you know if they are the right one? I'm going to say my 3 markers are, firstly, you feel safe. You feel safe in their company. You feel safe to speak about whatever you want to speak about. You feel like you have the ability to do that. I'm going to say you have no judgment from them. So like I said before, you can share the most crazy things with them and they should not have any judgment, because they're there to help you. They're there to be on your team. They're there to have your back. And so I guess that goes into number 2 as well. Feeling like you're a team, feeling like it's you guys together fighting, you know, your mental health battles, like you're not fighting it alone. And then I'm going to say, thirdly, like you actually feel like you're getting something out of it. Now, I don't mean to say that like you need to go to therapy and you need to learn something every time. Absolutely not. There are sessions where I learn something. There are sessions where I just need to vent. There are sessions when I just need to cry. There are sessions when she teaches me something, and they're not all the same. It's all very different, but I feel like you will know if you're getting something out of it or not. And so I would say it's probably like a combination of those things being those markers to identify if they are the right one. I'm also going to say that it took me a little while to feel fully transparent with her, and that's normal as well. It takes time to build trust, guys. This one made me laugh. When you go in, is it like the movies? Private area, stress balls around, etc. Yes and no. So the first 2 therapists, well actually all the therapists I went to in person had the same office. It was like a doctor's office almost, but it was like a lot more aesthetic. There was a lot of books in all of the therapy or psychologist offices that I went to. Heaps of books actually. There's usually comfy couches. In the last office that I was at before I went online, there was heaps of different rooms. We would always have our appointment in the same room, but the rooms were like themed. So I remember we would always have like the blue themed room, and all we had in there was like a couch for me to sit on, her chair, and then there was like a table with this like mindful sand pit. It had a little rake, had rocks, and I guess you could play with that while you're talking. There were no stress balls, but there was definitely, for me anyway, a whiteboard. Sometimes she would write stuff down, or there would be like a notepad or pieces of paper where I would write stuff down. But yeah, it reminded me kind of like a fancy doctor's office, like an aesthetic doctor's office. And now I do online with that psych that I had in Sydney, and I love it because I get to do it in the convenience of my room or my car, or, you know, wherever I might be. When I try to go to Sydney, I try to tee up appointments, but she's always booked out so far in advance. But I would love to see her in person because I do prefer in person versus online. But I think online works for us because we had a large chunk of time together face to face. So I think we already had all that groundwork kind of done. This is so good. I'm getting full. The worst thing about eating and talking is that you actually take your time eating and then you start to digest the food. I do make a good stir fry, if I can say so myself. Should you prepare what you want to say beforehand or just wing it? I'm going to say I did not prepare what to say for my psych for about 6 months. I was just guided by her. Sometimes she'd give me homework that I would have to do, and I would do it. But other times, once she got me to start journaling, that's when it changed, because what would happen is I would go into the appointment, I'd be like, everything's fine. And then she'd ask me a few questions, and then it would be like opening Pandora's box. Everything was not fine. I just forgot what I wanted to talk about, but she would prompt me. And so she really recommended journaling to me so that I could remember what I wanted to talk about with her, because it's like when I'd go into therapy, I'd just have like a mind blank and everything that went wrong I forgot. But that's kind of what got me into journaling. And so now I obviously journal regularly and I know what to talk about. Like today, I'll tell you guys, I've obviously started dating again, and dating for me is not as fun as what it used to be, I'm going to say. I think just given the stuff that I've been through in past relationships and given my mental health, it can be quite anxiety inducing. It's really hard for me. And so just navigating that with her, and we went through some stuff today and I knew what I wanted to talk about. I spoke about the wedding. You guys would have seen how I felt at the wedding. I spoke about the date that I went on recently. I spoke about how I'm feeling about dating, and yeah, it was just nice to reflect on that. But I'm going to say, you can wing it. You don't have to plan it. If your therapist wants you to plan it, they will ask you to plan it. Or if they want you to write stuff down, they will ask you to write stuff down. Oh, I can put my phone there. That actually makes life easier. Next question. Is it scary? I want to go so bad, but I don't even know how to answer. What brings you here? Okay. Again, kind of like it's awkward. Of course it's scary. It's very scary to go and get help when you need it. But it's also very courageous, and it's also the best thing that you can do for yourself. And you don't need to know how to answer what brings you here, because a good therapist or a good psychologist or a good counselor or a good mental health professional will know what to ask you to be able to get answers out of you. The temperature thing went off. What the hell? This camera annoys me. We'll keep going until it stops. Next question. How much do you pay for it? So my therapist charges $225 a session for an hour. And I mean, rightfully so. She bloody has saved my life a few times, so she can charge what she wants. But I am on a mental health care plan, which means Medibank, which means Medicare subsidizes half of it. So what happens is I pay the $225, my therapist will submit the claim, and then the next day I literally get $110 or $112 something back into my account. So I essentially pay $112 or $113 for my therapy appointment, which is still expensive. And I think whenever I talk about therapy, I have to talk about the fact that it's still so inaccessible for so many people. And that's why I recommend checking out the links. And I also really recommend my podcast episode, because I give you a whole heap of tips about free access things like EAP at your work. Sometimes there's like free school counselors that you can talk to if you don't want to talk to like to your parents or you can't afford it. Sometimes your employer, like I said, EAP has stuff. There are lots of hotlines out there, and even again, talking to your GP and telling them that you may not be able to afford it can help them help you. So it's different based on the therapist. Again, you can find someone that is more in line with your budget, or you can also find someone that may be able to help you at no cost as well. Did you try a different therapist, or have you always had the same one? So I tried 2 before I found the current one, and we just didn't click. I just very much felt like I was being judged. I just very much felt like they weren't the right fit for me, and that's okay, because I don't think we're always going to get along with everyone. I don't think we're always going to be the right fit. I don't think that we should expect the first person we go to click. Sometimes that happens, and when that happens, I think amazing. But I got other questions in here where people were telling me how amazing their psychologist was, and I'm like, yeah, damn straight. I know that there are amazing psychologists out there. I know that there's amazing counselors out there. I know that there's amazing psychiatrists out there, and obviously depending on what you need, go and get the right help. Don't be afraid to get that help. But yeah, as I said, I did try a few and they just weren't the right fit. And I didn't know in my first session that she was going to be the right fit for me because we just got along so well, but it did still take time for me to build that bond with her. Got referred, but the psych does Zoom only. I'm struggling to justify $180 for a call, but I need it. This person is a uni student as well. And again, as I said before, there may be some options out there for you where you can access some help that doesn't cost you that much. Please speak to your GP. Please chat to them because they may be able to help you. I know that $180 is a lot, but I'm going to say if they can get you on a mental health care plan, that will bring that down. Or they can put you in touch with someone who does it at a cheaper cost, or maybe like a service provider that does it at no cost as well. Please chat to your GP. Oh, I love this question. How to not cancel my appointment when I don't think there is anything wrong? Should you continue to go to therapy even though you are okay? I'm going to say yes and no. If you feel like you absolutely don't need it and you're not getting anything from it, stop going. Knowing what I know with my mental health and knowing what I know with my history, I think I will need therapy forever, in the sense that when I'm in a crisis or when shit's hit the fan, I need to go weekly. When things are like vibing and happy and I'm in a good headspace and there's nothing going wrong, which if you know life, shit will go wrong, right? That's guaranteed. But I can space my appointments out. So I might go once every 6 weeks, or once every 4 weeks, or once every 8 weeks. I think the longest I've gone without seeing her is 8 weeks. And I remember I used to see her weekly at the start, and then she goes, I think that you're doing really well. I think we could push the appointments out to fortnightly. And so we moved to fortnightly. And then she said, you're doing really well. I think we can move to monthly. And so then we moved to monthly. And she has always been so supportive of me, like not needing her. And she's always said like, you don't need me. And I'm like, yes, I do. You're my security blanket. But I could very much go a long time without seeing her if I'm not in crisis. At the moment, because I am dating again and a lot of stuff is coming up and it's freaking me out, I do have another appointment in a fortnight. It's not freaking me out to the point where I'm having like panic attacks, but it is triggering some anxiety for me. And so I just need to work through that with her, and I just need some extra support over this time. And I'm going to say, when I don't need a therapy appointment, I don't ever cancel it, but I still make sure I've got one here and there, because what I said to you before, how you look after your mental health when you don't need it helps you for when you do need it, because a good therapist will teach you skills, practical stuff to like manage your mental health and to look after yourself. And I think at the end of the day, be guided by what works for you. But for me, I would say, I just think my future self will thank me for it. My future self is going to need this eventually. And I think I can see it. Like I saw it this year when my grandfather passed away. I was feeling pretty good in therapy up until that point this year. And yeah, my therapist helped me work through that type of grief. And I just think life will throw unexpected things at us. And for me, I feel like I've always gotten so much out of it that it's just helped me when I do need it. Going when I didn't need it helped me when I do need it. Ooh, next question is, do you experience therapy hangover? It depends. Today I didn't. But there have definitely been times where, especially if I have to like relive something or explain something, and I felt this a lot at the start. Absolutely. And what I actually do usually is book the therapy appointment at the end of the day, and usually have an early night that night, do some self-care that night, really fill my cup up, because therapy can be quite draining, especially if you've gone through something serious or you're battling with something or you're really struggling. Going to therapy can crack you open almost. And so feeling hungover from it, yes. I can feel exhausted from it, drained from it. And then other days I feel like energized from it, or feel amazing after it, or feel like, oh, relief after it. So definitely not alone. I would say nighttime session so that you can go home, go to bed. Huge game changer. Where do you think you would be without therapy? Therapy has helped so many lives. My psych is elite. Love you. I love that you have a good psych. My psychologist has saved my life. I speak about this on the podcast. I don't want to go into too much detail here, but yeah, without her, I don't think I would be here. Which is sad, but also it's true. And as I said before, my only regret is not going sooner. So if you need help, please go and get it. Okay, last 3 questions. How to end therapy with a psych you don't vibe with? When I didn't vibe with mine, I literally just didn't rebook the appointment. But you know what? We were only 2 sessions in, or 3 sessions in. It wasn't enough for me to be like, I've built such a bond with this person. If I was to leave my therapist now, I would tell her at the end of the appointment, or I'd tell her in advance, I have to talk to you about something. And then I would say to her, I just don't think I'm getting anything from this. You've been a great help so far. Thank you. I feel like I've outgrown this. And I would go to look to find another one. This question is a good one. How can men get better at this? I don't know where to start. This was submitted by a man, and I just want to say that regardless of your gender, getting help for your mental health can be quite hard. I understand that there is also probably more stigma around men's mental health. My starting advice is go to your GP, talk to your GP, or listen to that episode of my podcast, because that will be able to help you just get in the right direction. Chatting to your GP and having your GP on side goes a long way, because for me, whenever I need a mental health care plan or a review of the care plan, I've got to go to my GP. My GP talks to my psychologist, and they work together as well. So having a good GP, talking to your GP, even if you don't have a good GP, any GP can get you a mental health care plan. And I'm going to say, if you need urgent help, call Lifeline on 131114. And then last question is, how do you open up to someone when you don't know them or you are a close person? And I'm going to say that it takes time. Trust takes time to build, and you don't have to open up to them straight away. It took at least probably 3 months for me to really open up to my psychologist, but a good psychologist will build that trust with you over time. They will do little things to show you that you can feel safe. They will tell you things to show you that you are safe in their company. They will ask you the right things to make sure that you feel comfortable talking about it. They will ensure that slowly you build that relationship. And what I love about therapy, for me anyway, it is a safe container that has shown me that I can have a healthy connection with somebody, because that's what it is at the end of the day. And I think that's why therapy works so well, because it becomes an example for the person that's in therapy that you can have this really healthy connection with this person that helps you and that, you know, looks after your mental health. And therapy is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's something that if you are thinking about even just watching this video, please go and get the help. Please go and speak to somebody. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it can absolutely change your life. But guys, I am going to wrap the episode up there. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please leave a comment. There were a lot of questions. I'm probably going to do a part 2 eventually, so don't worry about that. As I said earlier, the weekly vlog will be a little bit delayed this week, but you will be able to see the vodcast, which will come out on Sunday as well. So thank you for watching this one. I hope that you have a great weekend. I hope that you stay safe. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye.